Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Lunch Table Podcast. And in this episode, we're going to give you our review for Beau Is Afraid. Now, you could rent it on Prime. We're late to the game. Sorry about that. But we're here. We got plenty of thoughts to say about it. Beware of spoilers. Dylan, what a bizarre film. Let's start with your thoughts.
I'm afraid just to talk about it.
Yeah.
But man, A24, man, they hit hard with their movies, and Joaquin Phoenix, he knows how to play really damaged characters. We've seen that with the Joker, obviously, but here he just nails that out of the ballpark. Of course, great ensemble cast as well. It's chaotic, but it's elegant at the same time, and it talks a lot about pent up trauma, grief, and it makes you stressed out the whole movie, and it makes you want to hug Beau at the end of it. It's really sad, but there are a lot of funny moments sprinkled in between scenes, and I think Ari Aster did a great, amazing job directing this. But let me get your thoughts since you just watched it.
I agree. I laughed so much, and I feel like it was on purpose. That's the point. There were so many absurd moments that I just had to laugh for, like Beau or
it's like Barry. Like,
yeah, it's kind of Barry. Oh my gosh! And the reaction's like, it's too funny. Like, the amount of violence is hilarious in this. But for sure, I like that with the point you said about pent up trauma. Yeah, I feel like it's a generational type of trauma that's pent up. I feel he suffered a lot in his youth, and we can see that through little inserts of flashbacks, and everything is sort of abstract, and probably self-indulgent in a way. But I think this is a perfect recipe that only Ari Aster can make after doing two hit movies, both of which were iconic and very well made. Unfortunately, I feel like this movie probably, I don't know how the box office numbers are now, but I feel like this movie probably will have a cult following rather than just being popular in general, because for some, you might give it a 1 out of 10 or something like that because it's too absurd. You don't get the point, especially the ending freaked me out. But I think it's just all this one big metaphor, and they showcased it in a very funny, horrifying way.
For sure, it's a movie you have to watch twice to kind of understand it a bit more, but then you appreciate it again, and like you like you said, you catch all the funny, humorous moments in between. It's definitely a very depressing movie, I must say. If you're watching into it for the first time, be prepared, bring some Kleenex. I will promise you will shed a few tears. But I think the beauty of it is that everything goes wrong for Beau. So in that moment, it's like you can't expect a happy ending, but watching depressing movies makes me find the beautiful moments more, if that makes sense. It's like hidden gems in between, like whenever he has like an emotional connection with somebody, or when we see like into his childhood or his innocence, right? It's those little scenes, those little moments between the story. And it's interesting seeing like his whole lifeline from the first scene is literally like his birth, right? Yeah. And then like we see like him older. I mean, there was like more fictitious abstract scene where like he's kind of like older, and then like he's middle-aged, obviously. So seeing him go through his whole span, it's like watching like a Benjamin Button movie, right? Like
sort of, yeah.
It's like you experience his whole past and his future as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really interesting that, I mean, you could tell that also from the poster. The poster, I think it's phenomenal. It's super iconic. And, the old moments were sort of, most of the movie, I think it's just all really in his head. But, you could tell from the older moments, it's like his regrets, or, showing something in the future, but it always something will get messed up, and there's a guilt to that, and something is holding him back, and you could tell that it's just from his mother. I love how they play with that, and also I love how a lot of things are just beautiful, but at the same time too, something just absurd happens. We see this military guy. That military guy was so funny.
Jeeves, rip him apart.
It's absolutely crazy. It was so funny. Or just how some characters, they talk about like other characters. For example, the pregnant whore, as Richard Kynes said, or something that helped Beau get to this place. It sometimes is kind of hard to follow, but I think for some reason it's just so entertaining as well that I don't see really a reason why to leave the theater when you're watching this. It's just to see it for that. If you're not going to cut deep, I think it's really entertaining. But at the same time, too, you could also tell towards the end it went fully like crazy, fully schizo mode. And let me get your thoughts, jumping a little bit ahead. What are your thoughts on the ending? Because I feel like the ending had a lot of symbology.
Yeah, the ending got really weird. I'm not gonna lie. It was already weird to be out because I feel like in the beginning, and mind you, this is a 3-hour movie, so
Yeah,
I
so
was
long.
already hooked in like the first 10 minutes. And it just kept going and going. It just kept escalating. I love that about this movie. It's just like it just draws you into this, like it's almost like watching. Oh, I forget this movie. It was with Zach Galifianakis and
Is it a crazy one? Oh
No, it was like this movie that like it was like a bad situation just getting worse and worse, and that's kind of like what this movie is. It's like it starts off with Beau trying to just
Due date.
Due date. Thank you.
There you go. Yeah.
It's like Beau is trying to make this flight, and then everything that could go wrong just goes wrong. And then towards the end, well, throughout the movie, we start learning a bit about his past. You know, what happened with his dad. His mother was very manipulative, very abusive towards him also. And towards the end, we see all this grief and this guilt that he's harbored kind of like manifests into this like visual scene where like it's like a trial almost, and like he's being put on trial for like all these things, and it's kind of sad because it's like he doesn't have any confidence in this movie. It feels like he's like a very introverted person, and you know he's very like apologetic. You know sometimes like he can't get his words out like what he wants to say, and he kind of gets like stepped on over by a lot of people. So it's very sad. And if you made it to the end of this movie, you know, you'll probably feel the same way. But it was very artful at the same time, I must say. I've never seen an ending like that before, where it's kind of like you lost at the end, but in a way it talks about like all the emotions that you harbored at the end. Maybe it's like a message, right, for like people that are suffering through like trauma and they can't, it feels like they're drowning almost. Like that's like maybe that was the whole thing with the boat, like he was drowning under the weight of all these emotions and all these feelings. So I think it was beautifully like represented in that last scene.
For sure, yeah. I don't know if he actually died during like the sex scene. I'm not really sure how to interpret it. But what I do know is the ending where the audiences that just get up and leaves. And there's like 3 things. One is super meta, because if you're in a theater and that's why it's so thing. Sorry. If you're in a theater and you're watching this and you're also leaving with the audience, it's as if you're participating in that play they were talking about earlier, that you could be a part of it. But then also, it's you're a bystander almost like to life, I guess, because you're waiting for this end credit if there's something, and that's kind of how Beau is. He just lets people do things for him. Apparently, that was some dialogue that was said, or just sees things go by. And then again, it's also life isn't really what it's meant out to be, and the end credit really was just disappointing because there was no end credit. So,
well, it kind of talks about our culture too, because I think we're so.
Yeah.
We always expect an end credit, like a final word at the end of a movie now. And it was like, that was it. That was the finality of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that the giant cock threw me off too.
I totally forgot about that until you mentioned it.
That threw me completely off. I didn't know what to think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I was passing out. And then Jeeves comes through. He's like, ah!
I still love the homeless dude that was like in the ceiling, and then the spider. I want to know how long he waited there
I know.
until Beau got to the top.
He probably stayed there for like 14 hours.
You know how much upper body strength that man had?
No, I did a brown recluse spider. What's his like, ah! And they kept on going to a circle.
Even the naked dude like stabbing. It was like that motherfucker must have lived in LA, because I've never seen like a neighborhood that bad. Like rent must be $2. That's how bad.
That's it. It's just LA. That's just what the movie's about. Beau Is Afraid of LA.
I love how like he didn't have running water when he needed a drink, and then all of a sudden his bathtub starts working. Like what?
There were so many like comedic moments that I think were perfect timing. The editing too was just wonderful. I thought this movie was super fun. But like you said, I went through a trial, if you will, with like just being happy and then get disappointed later on, and I feel sad for Beau. It's like really a lot of ups and downs. I think you could only do it in a 3-hour runtime because this movie is 3 hours long movie. I love the pacing though. I feel like they took their time really well. And there was some moments where like he was just walking slow.
There's digestible moments in between like all the chaotic moments, which I like. So it's like it gives you breathing room a little bit in between these like very heavy, very traumatic, stressful scenes because it challenges you a lot, and that's what I like about A24 movies. They challenge your perception of things, and I think this movie does that really well with challenging your feelings and your emotions. Because I was stressed myself watching, and I think that's the point. It's like it makes you feel like you're a Beau in that situation. And it's like, you know, you suffer from all this anxiety. It's like, what would you do in that moment, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think again, this movie may not be for certain people, but for sure, I think it'll stand out for a long time, and it's in part due to also the casting. I think Joaquin. Let me get your thoughts on Joaquin's performance.
He was beautiful, I think he's awesome. I think I love every role that he partakes in, and this one it was so natural on screen. It's you know, sometimes it's hard, especially for veteran actors, to portray somebody that has mental illness or somebody that suffers from a lot of abuse. Because, like, you know, unless you're like a method actor, you don't know those experiences, right? So I think Joaquin does a good job of you know, painting that on screen for us with Beau, right? You feel like even without like the flashbacks with the, you know, the kid when he's younger, you still feel that pain with him. Even like when he's like on the phone and you hear like what happened with his mom, even when he's talking to his mom too, you feel that pass, you know, catch up to him in a way. So I think he did a phenomenal performance.
He really did. I really, it's amazing because he played somebody really frail, you know, really scared, and you could really see that in his face. And he balances everything really well, I think, with comedic timing and then also just being so alerted and and scared of something. You see it in his face.
You get what you fucking deserve.
Yeah. That's what he did to his mom. Yeah. I used to think my life's a tragedy. Now I know it's a comedy. So if you had to rate this movie, I know we're 2 months late, but what would you rate this movie?
Honestly, I'd probably get a solid 10 out of 10. I think it, you know, it's one of those movies, you know, we talk a lot about like entertainment and stuff. Sometimes we talk about action movies or comedies, but I think this is a nice story, right? I like that, a nice story. Just like, you know, it talks about this character and it goes beyond the character, and that's what I think this movie does a great job of. And, you know, like I said, a great supporting cast, and everybody feels like, you know, they're a cog in this message, right? It feels like even the daughter, what was her name, Tony, her stress too, like was probably even worse than Beau's, right? And just seeing that whole scene where like she died, you know, drinking paint, and that was hard to swallow.
I knew something was coming.
I must say. But yeah, 10 out of 10 for me. Excellent film. I loved it. And it was great direction. Awesome actors. How would you rate it?
Awesome. Yeah, no, honestly, we so if you're new to the channel, we usually have the same taste in a lot of movies and stuff, and we usually tend to agree. So I would give this movie a 1 out of 10. No, I would give this movie a 10 out of 10. Yeah, I really will give this movie a 10 out of 10 because I think it cuts deep, but then it's entertaining in the surface level. I think the music is amazing, and also you have to really be great at editing to pull something like this off, especially the comedic timing and then just the tone. I think the visual art style is really unique as well. So something for sure memorable, I think, for a long time. Hopefully a cult classic for the future to come. So definitely 10 out of 10. And my friend, take us away.
Well, guys, thank you so much. Let us know what you thought of Beau Is Afraid. Don't be afraid to like our channel as well. Sub, anything helps the channel. We love you so. I'm fucking up my words right now. I feel like I'm Beau. Right now.
He's afraid.
But no, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let us know what you thought of the movie, and let us know what you want to see us review as well. We have a Mission Impossible Revisited coming out after this, and also for Dead Reckoning, the new Mission Impossible movie as well. But yeah, guys, thank you so much, and until then, thanks for having lunch with us.
See you guys.